I was 21 when the doctor said the word that split my life into before and after. Stage 2. Hodgkin's lymphoma. I remember the way the room suddenly became too small. The sterile light overhead becoming too bright, too cold. I blinked at him, trying to find some mistake in his expression, some misunderstanding. I was young, healthy. I had plans. I was going to graduate with honors in biology. I was going to be someone. Instead, I became a patient, a statistic. I called my mother from the curb outside the hospital. My hands were shaking too hard to hold the phone properly. Her first words weren't, "Are you okay?" They were, "Does your insurance cover it?" At first, they pretended to care. Dad started a Facebook fundraiser. He used my high school photo, the one where I was smiling, holding my diploma, and wrote a heartfelt paragraph about how our brave girl is fighting cancer and needs your help. He cried in the video, just enough to get sympathy. Mom shared it like wildfire. My sister Serena, who hadn't texted me in 2 months, suddenly posted old childhood pictures of us with captions like, "My warrior sister, Chacha fight with faith." Donations poured in. Hundreds, thousands, then tens of thousands. Strangers left comments. "Stay strong, sweetheart. Praying for you. I lost my daughter to lymphoma. Sending all my love." The numbers climbed. 8,240, $13,000, $25,670. I was living in my college apartment, splitting rent with my roommate Jaya. I asked Mom if they could send a bit over, just enough to help with groceries and gas since I was barely working through chemo. She told me, "The donations are for your future treatments, honey. We're saving every penny. Don't worry about little things like groceries." I believed her. Until the Instagram story. It was Serena's. She'd forgotten I still followed her burner account. The one she used to post aesthetic content for, her small influencer crowd. I tapped through it mindlessly one night in bed, pale, nauseated from round 3 of chemo, when the location tag caught my eye. Maldives. The video showed crystal clear water, champagne, a luxury overwater villa. She was clinking glasses with Mom. Dad was behind the camera laughing. The caption read, "Once-in-a-lifetime family trip. We earned this. Grateful, our healed by the sea." I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened the donation page. They'd disabled comments. The last update was 3 weeks old. Something vague about ongoing treatment. There were no receipts, no transparency. And my rent was 2 weeks late. I called her. My mother. "Where are you?" I asked quietly. "Oh, just out doing errands." "Why?" I didn't even ask why she was lying. I said, "You used the cancer donations to fund your vacation." Her silence cracked down the line like ice. Then came the sigh, the one she always used when I was being dramatic. "We needed a break," she said. "You weren't even using the money. And it's our family hardship too, you know." I hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened my laptop, and I began to plan. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the nausea or the dull ache in my spine. I'd learned to live with that. It was the silence. The kind that buzzes behind your ears when the world around you shifts, and everything you thought was true suddenly rots from the inside. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan. I felt hollow. Not from cancer, from betrayal. By morning I had a new folder on my laptop. I called it Truth. I started simple. Screenshots, every Instagram post. Serena with her beachside mimosas. My mother in a new silk robe with a caption about self-care. My father reclining on a deck chair, reading a book I once gifted him and never saw again. Then the post stopped. But I knew where to go next. The donation platform had a back-end dashboard. I had never asked for access. I trusted them to handle it. But I wasn't stupid. I'd helped my professors run research studies, tracked medical lab funding. I knew how to look for patterns. I emailed the platform posing as the campaign beneficiary, asking for transparency records. 2 days later, I received a spreadsheet. 38,912.57 had been raised. Not one withdrawal had my name attached to it. When I confronted them again, I did it over text. That way, I had proof. Me. Can you confirm where the $38K went? Mom. We're using it for long-term things. Some was invested. Me. You went to the Maldives. That's not a treatment. Mom. You always twist things, Chloe. We're trying to support you. This is really toxic. Me. Did I approve any of this? Mom. You're not in the right mindset right now. Maybe take a break from the internet. I didn't respond. Instead, I added the text to my folder. My roommate Jaya noticed the shift in me before I did. You're quieter, she said one night while chopping vegetables in our tiny kitchen. Like, cold quiet. You okay? I hesitated. Then I opened my laptop and showed her everything. The fundraiser, the messages, the videos, the numbers, the receipts. When she looked up, her eyes were wide. This is, Chloe, this is actual fraud. I nodded. And it's only the beginning. I didn't report it. Not yet. I wanted to know how deep the hole went. And what I found next nearly made me throw up worse than chemo ever had. One of the donations, a $10,000 lump sum, had come from my late aunt's church. The church where she'd spent every Sunday before she passed away 2 years ago. The same church that used to deliver hot meals to our door when we were kids and money was tight. They'd posted about it on their community page. We're honored to support Chloe Williams in her battle. God bless this strong young woman. My family sent them a thank you card, signed with my name, and yet I never saw a single dollar. The worst part? The email thread I uncovered in Dad's inbox, one he left open on the shared iPad during a weekend visit last year. Subject: Transfer from donation account from Serena. Can you move the last $5K into my Amex before the Bali flights post? I'll reimburse after the influencer deal lands, I promise. Chloe hasn't even noticed. She's barely online. I took a screenshot so fast my hands shook. By week's end, the folder had 68 files, receipts, screenshots, videos, names. I sat in the center of it all, weak and weary, but no longer broken. They thought I was too sick to fight back. They thought my silence meant surrender. But they forgot. I was studying molecular biology. I knew how to analyze. I knew how to sequence. And I was building a case. One that wouldn't just expose them, but obliterate them. The next piece of this plan required something I hadn't touched in years. Trust. I didn't have much left of it, but I still had Aunt Evelyn's old address book, and inside it, taped to the inside back cover with cracked yellowing tape, was a card with one name, written in bold fountain pen strokes. Michael Nguyen, Legal Counsel, Corporate and Nonprofit Law. And beneath it, in Evelyn's handwriting, call him if anything ever smells wrong. It smelled very wrong. Michael had known Aunt Evelyn for years. They'd grown up in the same foster home. She used to say he was the only man who ever made her feel safe after what she'd been through. I hadn't seen him since I was 13, the year Evelyn passed. But if she trusted him enough to leave me this breadcrumb, I figured I had to follow it. I called the number. The voice on the other end was warm, steady, and instantly familiar. "Chloe?" he said after a long pause. "You sound like Evelyn." That alone almost broke me, but I stayed focused. "I need help," I said. "And I think it's about to get very ugly." We met the next afternoon over Zoom. He was in Seattle now, running a small law firm focused on fraud and charity law. I sent him my folder in advance. Every receipt, every manipulated post, every message from my mother, my sister, and especially that email thread between Dad and Serena. Michael barely spoke during the call. He just nodded, slowly, taking notes. After nearly 40 minutes, he leaned back in his chair, fingers pressed together. "This isn't just unethical," he said. "This is wire fraud, possibly identity theft, and if they claim tax exemption on that money under false pretenses, we're looking at federal charges." My stomach turned, but this time, not from chemo. He continued. "But I'll tell you this, Chloe. The best revenge won't come from court filings. It'll come from you taking back the narrative. Publicly. With truth so undeniable they can't twist it anymore." He was right. They'd built their lie in the public square. It was only fair I destroy it there too. Michael helped me draft a private cease and desist, a letter that laid out every charge I could pursue. But we didn't send it. Not yet. We agreed on something better first. A leak. A deliberate, slow release. Truth in pieces. Jaya helped me build the website. Clean, simple, and surgical. www.thetruthaboutchloe.com. We kept it anonymous at first. We titled it, "Where Did the Money Go?" and we uploaded the first bombshell, a full breakdown of the fundraiser, item by item. The Instagram story of the Maldives trip, and a single caption. This fundraiser was for cancer treatment. None of this trip was. The page got 500 views the first day, then 5,000 the next. Then it exploded on Reddit. I watched from my laptop as people pieced it together. Locals recognized my family. Someone uploaded a TikTok summary. The comments turned savage fast. These people need to be in jail. I donated $100 to that campaign. I want my money back. The girl is sick, and they went on a vacation? Still, my parents didn't know it was me. Yet. But Serena did. I got a DM from her burner account at 2:04 a.m. "Serena, was this you? You're sick for doing this. We're your family." I didn't respond. Instead, I updated the site again. This time with the email Serena sent Dad. The one about the Amex and Bali and how I wasn't even noticing. We added one more sentence at the top. When they say family, they mean ownership. Michael's final advice that week? Let them bury themselves in their panic. Lies panic fast. Truth doesn't need to rush. So I waited, and watched as the mask started to slip. Because when Mom posted a vague "betrayal is the worst kind of pain" on Facebook, and turned off all comments, the donations stopped. And when Dad tried to explain things away to the church elders, one of them replied with just one line, "So you robbed her while she was fighting for her life?" The email came on a Sunday morning. The sky outside was soft and gray, and for once my stomach wasn't twisting from nausea or fury. I'd woken up to birdsong and silence, No buzz from group chats, no fake sympathy messages. It was almost peaceful, until I checked my inbox. Subject: from someone who knows. No signature. Just a Gmail address I didn't recognize. Faith first. sin6gmail.com. My hands hesitated. Then clicked. The email read, Chloe, I don't know if you remember me, but I go to Grace Chapel. I taught Sunday school with your Aunt Evelyn for years. I've been watching the fallout from the fundraiser scandal, and I need you to see this. The church council deserves to know the truth, but so do you. Attached are screenshots from our church administrator's email chain with your mother. I suggest you read them closely. And I suggest you save them somewhere safe. I believe Evelyn would have wanted you to have this. Someone who remembers who you are. I opened the PDF. Each page felt heavier than the last. It began innocently. A thank you note from Mom to Pastor Collins, appreciating their generous $10,000 contribution to Chloe's care fund. Then, the lie bloomed. We'll be setting up a small charity wing in Chloe's name, she wrote, to help other young women in crisis. We'll need additional support for the legal fees and infrastructure. The date was 2 days after they booked their Maldives flights. Later in the thread, she asked for another $5,000 to finalize Chloe's transfer to a specialized oncology center in Switzerland. I was never even told about Switzerland. Hell, I didn't even have a passport. Then came the worst part, an attached PDF invoice from a Swiss medical agency. It was fake, completely fabricated. The address was a hotel. The contact email bounced when I tested it. They had laundered my pain into fiction, a holy lie, backed by scripture, sealed with gratitude. That was the moment something inside me hardened, not with bitterness, but with purpose. They hadn't just stolen money. They had hijacked my name, my diagnosis, my dignity, and wrapped it in righteousness. It wasn't just betrayal. It was blasphemy. Jaya walked in as I was printing the emails. She caught the look on my face and froze. What happened? I didn't answer. I just handed her the pages. Her lips pressed into a flat line. She didn't cry. Neither did I. Instead, she picked up the camera from our bookshelf. It's time, she said. We filmed the video in our apartment. Nothing dramatic, just me, a chair, and truth. I wore no makeup, no script, just a hoodie, pale skin, and the IV port still taped to my chest from my last round. I looked straight into the lens. My name is Chloe Williams. I'm 21 years old. I have stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And this is the truth about what my family did with the donations made in my name. I walked viewers through the fundraiser, the Instagram stories, the forged invoices, the church lies, the vacation. I didn't scream. I didn't name call. I just told the truth. And at the end, I said, some of you believed you were helping me. You weren't. But you did help uncover something I would have never seen otherwise. So thank you. Not for the money, but for the clarity. I looked into the camera, steady. This was never about revenge. It's about reclamation. Of my voice. Of my name. Of my fight. You don't get to steal someone's story just because they're too sick to stop you. We uploaded it under my name. No aliases, no filters. It took 36 hours to pass 1 million views. That night, I got another email. This one with a court seal, in the corner. Notice of investigation pending. Fraudulent fundraising. Misuse of charitable funds. Michael had already filed the evidence. The fire had started, and for once, they were the ones sweating. They didn't call at first. They didn't text either. But I knew they'd seen it. Serena's burner account went dark. My mother's Facebook turned into a ghost town. The fundraiser page was deleted entirely. That silence, it was the kind that comes before a storm. The letter arrived 3 days later, hand-delivered with no postage. Jaya found it tucked under our door. It was thick and cream-colored, the kind of envelope used for weddings or baptisms, sealed with a gold sticker. Inside, a cease and desist from my father's lawyer. Defamatory statements, emotional distress, cyberbullying, financial damages. I read it with the kind of stillness chemo had taught me. The same man who wept in a fundraising video over my bravery was now accusing me of ruining his reputation. I handed the letter to Jaya without a word. She skimmed it, scoffed, and dropped it on the table like it was junk mail. "Cowards always reach for paper shields," she muttered. I forwarded it to Michael. He replied in 4 minutes. "Ignore. Paper tiger. We'll respond formally." That night, the real message came. Private number, 2:11 a.m. I should have let it ring, but I answered. My mother's voice, syrupy sweet and venomous. "Do you feel powerful now, Chloe?" I didn't say anything. "I hope you're enjoying your little internet fame," she said. "You've embarrassed your entire family. You think this makes you strong? This makes you sick." I almost laughed. Sick? No, cancer made me sick. She made me silent. For a while. Then she tried guilt. "We're your parents," she said. "Everything we did was for you. You're confused. You're not well. Your friends are manipulating you. That Asian girl, what's her name? Jada? Her name is Jaya," I said coldly. Silence. Then, "We took care of you." "No," I said, voice flat. "You took care of your image." And then I hung up. The next morning, Michael sent me a revised statement to publish. Any further intimidation, contact, or slander from the Williams family will be documented and submitted as part of the active investigation. Our client has the full right to speak about her lived experience, particularly one that involves financial fraud and emotional abuse during medical treatment. It was cold. Clinical. But behind the words, I felt the heat of something I hadn't felt in months. Control. That same day, I got a DM on Instagram from a name I didn't expect, Emily Tran, one of Serena's old classmates. They'd been in cheer, together, back when Serena wore pearls to school and I sat alone in the back row of science class. "Hey, Chloe. I saw your video. I'm not proud to admit this, but your mom approached me 2 years ago about running some influencer ads for your fundraiser. Said I could keep 40% if I just used my platform. I thought it was weird. She gave me fake quotes to say about you, but I never knew the truth. If you need statements, I'm here." One by one, the cracks widened. 3 donors contacted me directly, asking how to report fraud. A former family friend emailed a PayPal receipt, $20,500, and said he'd testify if needed. An old neighbor messaged me privately. "They told us you were in Europe, that you were recovering. We're horrified, Chloe. You always had such light in your eyes. They tried to extinguish it." I didn't cry. Not yet. But that night, I slept without clutching my stomach. Then came the final twist. For now, the church Pastor Collins released a public statement. It wasn't explosive, but it was damning. We gave in good faith. We were misled. We are cooperating fully with all investigations, and we are reaching out to Chloe directly to apologize. They removed my parents from all church committees. Serena's fiancé's family pulled out of the wedding. And my parents? They finally spoke. They posted a statement on Facebook, of course. One of those long-winded, self-pitying monologues that said nothing and blamed everything. We are devastated. We did what we thought was best. The internet has turned our private suffering into a circus. Please respect our healing journey. No apology. No ownership. Not even my name. But that was fine. Because now everyone knew the truth, and the real reckoning was just beginning. The envelope was thin, but it carried weight like a brick. Official court seal. My full name typed clean across the front. Inside, a subpoena. I was to appear in a public fraud hearing 2 weeks from now, part of a civil case against my parents, initiated after multiple donor complaints, the church's official withdrawal, and, most damning, my video hitting 3.4 million views and counting. The Attorney General's office was involved now. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a case. I read the letter 3 times. Jaya sat across from me, legs tucked under herself on the couch, waiting for me to say something. Didn't. I just handed it over. Her eyes scanned, her breath held. Then she whispered, "They'll be there, won't they?" I nodded. She placed the paper down carefully, then reached out and took my hand like it might break. I didn't say it out loud, but the thought was crawling up the back of my throat like smoke. I was going to have to look them in the eye. I spent the next days with Michael prepping testimony. He warned me, over and over. They'll try to gaslight, they'll cry, they'll twist the narrative. But the documents don't lie. The donations don't lie. You don't lie. Still, I wasn't ready for the way my hands trembled the morning of the hearing. I wore black slacks, a soft green blouse Aunt Evelyn gave me before her last hospital stay, and a scarf to cover the fading port scar on my chest. Not because I was ashamed, because I wanted them to see what they chose to ignore, what they had the audacity to profit from. The courthouse was modest, not the grand marble kind, but a squat beige building with flickering lights in the hallway and vending machines humming in the corners. But it was packed. Reporters, former donors, church members, even 3 of Serena's ex-friends. I recognized one of them whispering to another, "That's her. That's Chloe." I walked past without looking. We entered the chamber. There they were. My parents sat stiffly on the opposite bench, side by side. Serena next to them, thinner than I remembered. No makeup, fingers clenched, into fists on her lap. She didn't meet my eyes. Mom did. She didn't smile, but her face wore the same look she used when I was 10, and dared question whether she'd read my school permission slip. How dare you put us through this? The judge entered. The court came to order. And then I spoke. I didn't shake. Not once. I told the court how I found out, how they lied, how they took tens of thousands meant for chemo treatments and spent them on spa days, designer handbags, and beach sunsets, how they fabricated medical documents, how they used my image to gather sympathy they didn't deserve. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I just read, calmly, clearly, from the folder titled The Truth, printed and organized into color-coded tabs. Then the judge asked if I had anything to say directly. I looked across the room, meeting my mother's stare, and then slowly turned to the crowd behind her, the donors, the friends, the faces that had been lied to. What they did to me, it wasn't just theft, it was erasure. They replaced my pain with their comfort. They turned my suffering into currency. They exploited love and faith and community. But I'm here, and I'm not ashamed. I didn't need them to believe in me. I just needed them to stop profiting off pretending they did. Silence fell. Even the stenographer paused a second too long. My mother started sobbing. Loud, theatrical sobs. The kind meant to reclaim the attention. My father leaned over, whispering something in her ear. Her sobs cut off like a switch flipped. Serena? She just stared down at her hands. The judge announced a delay on the ruling. More testimonies were being collected. But before I could leave, one of the reporters approached me outside. "Miss Williams," he asked, "do you have any regrets?" "About going public?" I looked right at the camera. "Just one," I said, "that I didn't do it sooner." That night, back home, I sat on my bed, still in my hearing clothes, and checked the donation site one last time. A new campaign had gone up under Serena's name. Family Redemption Fund, Help Us Rebuild. It had raised $34.60 and over 6,000 comments. Most of them said the same thing. You don't get to rebuild on the ashes you caused. It arrived in a pale blue envelope. No return address. Just my name, handwritten in small, neat cursive. The kind of penmanship no one under 40 uses anymore. It looked almost like calligraphy. Delicate, careful, full of intention. I opened it sitting cross-legged on the floor beside the window, sunlight pouring in across the blanket I hadn't folded from the night before. My hands were steady now. I no longer trembled when the unexpected arrived. Inside was a folded letter and a single photograph. I recognized the woman instantly. Her name was Miriam Dorsey. She used to sit in the 4th pew at Grace Chapel, every Sunday without fail. Widow, lived alone, taught piano to kids after school. She had a soft, feathered voice and brought fresh lavender to church every Easter. And years ago, I remembered this vividly, she was one of the very first to hug me when I was diagnosed. She didn't say anything dramatic. She just placed her hand on my shoulder and said, "You are stronger than what's trying to break you." Now her voice returned in ink. "Dear Chloe, I've watched all of this unfold quietly. I didn't know what to say until now. But I need you to know something. 3 years ago, I lost my only granddaughter to leukemia. We tried everything: treatment, therapy, prayer. In the end, we ran out of time, and I ran out of ways to hold on. When your family announced your diagnosis, I broke down. I thought maybe in helping you, I could heal something in myself. I donated $1,000. I remember writing the check with trembling hands, hoping, begging, that it might ease even one burden for you. When I found out where that money went, I felt that loss all over again. But when I saw your video, Chloe, I saw something else. Justice, and grace, and courage. You honored your pain with truth. Not bitterness. Truth. So I'm sending you something small. A photo of my granddaughter, Lily. I think she would have liked you. She was a fighter too. And I want you to know, your voice has reached far more hearts than theirs ever could. You're not alone. And you never were. With love and steady faith, Miriam, I stared at the photograph. Lily looked about 9, mid-laugh, her arms raised mid-spin on a grassy lawn. Her hair was wispy from chemo, but her joy was untouched. I set the photo beside me, and for the first time in a long time, I cried, not from betrayal, but from something else I thought they'd stolen forever. Connection. I mailed Miriam back the next morning. I sent her a copy of the court statement and a thank you note written in pen, not email, and promised to come visit when I was stronger. But that letter did something else too. It reminded me that what they stole wasn't just money, it was people's faith in compassion. Their belief that doing the right thing helped someone, and it was up to me to give that back. That week, Jaya and I launched a new site. No donations, no fundraising, just stories, verified accounts. A platform where people who had been used, tricked, or silenced in the name of someone else's sob story could speak, without fear of being erased. We called it Borrowed Suffering, our tagline. Your pain is yours. And your voice matters. I expected maybe a few entries. A handful of brave souls. Instead, within the first 10 days, we had 1,600 submissions. A woman whose mother faked GoFundMe posts to pay for liposuction. A man whose friend used his accident. Photos for pity followers. A girl whose stepdad made her stage TikToks in a wheelchair for clout. It was like a dam had broken, and suddenly I wasn't just a survivor. I was a lighthouse. Meanwhile, my parents' situation worsened. The civil case was drawing closer to a final ruling. The IRS had now opened a formal audit. The church froze their assets from the donation bank. And Serena, she deleted every trace of her influencer account, including the video she once posted crying over her sister's bravery. Poetic, really. They wanted to build an empire on my cancer. Now they were watching it collapse from the ruins. But this wasn't about them anymore. This was about everyone who'd ever been exploited behind a smiling selfie, a fake medical bill, or a staged photo shoot. They took my body, my story, my silence. But now, I was taking everything else back. The courthouse felt colder the second time. The walls were the same beige, the same faint buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. But this time, the weight was different. Heavier, somehow. Sharper. Because this wasn't just another hearing. This was the ruling. The courtroom was packed. Again. Reporters. Former donors. Church members. A woman holding a sign that read, I gave $500 to save her. You took it to Tan. And Miriam, dear, quiet Miriam, sat in the third row with Lily's photograph tucked inside her leather purse. I nodded to her as I walked in. She smiled back. No words needed. I took my seat. Beside Michael and across from me sat them. My mother, lips pressed so tight they were colorless. My father, jaw locked like a clenched gate. And Serena, looking everywhere but at me. The judge entered. We all rose, then sat. The room went still. After reviewing all evidence presented, including financial records, donor testimonies, social media documentation, and statements made under oath, I didn't breathe. The court finds the defendants, Thomas Williams, Margaret Williams, and Serena Williams, liable for civil fraud, emotional distress, and misappropriation of charitable funds. I heard a collective exhale behind. Me. Restitution is to be paid in full to Chloe Williams, including the full amount raised, additional punitive damages, and legal costs incurred. Furthermore, an injunction is issued forbidding the use of her name, image, or medical status in any promotional, fundraising, or personal gain capacity. This ruling will be published publicly, and a fraud alert will be issued to relevant platforms and financial institutions. I closed my eyes, not to cry, just to feel the silence. Because this wasn't noise. It was peace. Outside, a reporter asked, "Chloe, is this the justice you hoped for?" I thought about that for a second, then said, "Justice isn't just a punishment, it's a boundary, and mine is finally in place." 3 months later, I stood in front of a modest community center, not a church, not a hospital. Just a quiet building with chairs and a podium. A place for stories. We were hosting the first live event for Borrowed Suffering. People came from 5 states. A burn victim whose ex-boyfriend used her story to sell skincare. A veteran whose photos were edited into a fake GoFundMe. A teenage girl who never spoke on camera, but stood and read a poem titled, "I'm Not Your Pity Project." We didn't ask for donations. We didn't film for clicks. We just listened. After the event, Miriam approached me again. "You know what I think Lily would have loved most?" she said, touching my arm. "That you didn't just speak. You gave the microphone to others." I hugged her, not out of sadness, but out of gratitude for everything I still had. My breath, my truth, and a voice that no one would ever steal again. As for them, they tried to appeal, lost. The money they used to fund lies now went to pay the truth. Serena moved to a different city. My parents went silent online. Last I heard, their house was up for sale. I didn't care. I wasn't watching anymore. Because my story, the real one, wasn't about them anymore. It was about me, and how I survived everything they tried to bury me with.